down. You can't stop me now. Can't stop me now. My feet have come too far for you to tie them to the ground. Can't stop me now. Can't stop me now. Set my sights on where I'm going at. They turn it back around. Can't stop me.
Well, good evening, and welcome to the Psych Call Shop. I'm Aeson Knight, and my co-host he is Techie Joe with most. Hello, Miss Shannon. Hello, Miss Brenda. I'm glad you got your coffee or your tea or your espresso or whatever. Have a seat. Thank you for coming in early. We were trying to grab stories because, well, if you guys had your bingo card ready, if you had train derailments, UFOs, and now bank crises, you're almost to bingo. One more and you got a bingo.
I know. I don't think anyone was there for that. But then again, it's not as crazy as the last couple of years have shown it to be.
Yep.
Like, at least these aren't, well, okay, the UFOs are totally out there. Thank you for the badum-ching. Yep. But the bank collapsing and train derailments really does sound like the 30s, the 1930s,
or the 1830s,
or the 1830s. I mean, would be more in place,
right?
But yeah, no, Oh, so yeah, so let's get started and dig into that one. Ohio sues Norfolk Southern over toxic train derailment, reads the Washington Post. Ohio sued Norfolk Southern on Tuesday over a train derailment that caused an environmental disaster, displaced people from their homes, and led to a national public backlash. Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost announced the federal lawsuit in a news conference Tuesday afternoon, saying his state shouldn't have to bear the tremendous financial burden of Norfolk Southern's glaring negligence. A Norfolk Southern train was carrying hazardous chemicals such as vinyl chloride and butyl acrylate when it derailed in East Palestine, Ohio on February 3rd. The cars caught fire and surrounding residents were ordered to evacuate their homes. Authorities released a toxic plume of chemicals 3 days later to avoid a potential major explosion, and the cloud traveled at least as far as neighboring Pennsylvania. The 58-count lawsuit filed Tuesday in the U.S. District Court in northeastern Ohio is seeking at least $75,000 in damages, Yost said. But that amount will balloon because authorities are still calculating how much they've spent on the disaster. The fallout from this highly preventable incident may continue for years to come, and there's still so much we don't know about the long-term effects on our air, water, and soil, Yost said. In response to the lawsuit, a Norfolk Southern spokesperson said the company is committed to cleaning up the town and providing financial assistance to those affected by the derailment. The company is also aware of residents' concerns, including their long-term health, property values, and access to potable water. Spokesman Connor Spielmaker told the Washington Post in an email. Quote, every day since the derailment, our goal has been to make it right for the people of East Palestine and surrounding communities, Spielmaker said. We're making progress every day, cleaning the site safely and thoroughly, providing financial assistance to residents and businesses that have been affected, and investing to help East Palestine and the community around it thrive. 2 weeks after the derailment, Two weeks after the derailment, the Environmental Protection Agency said it was taking control of the cleanup oversight under pressure to respond more urgently to the train derailment. Norfolk Southern will have to fund these efforts, the agency said late last month. All the while, residents have feared for their safety. Immediately after the derailment, federal and local officials told people in East Palestine that their water was safe, but later they urged them to drink bottled water. Heavy chemical smells were detectable long after authorities said the air was safe to breathe. People who live or work in the area have blamed the derailment and subsequent release of chemicals for health problems, animal deaths, and potential property devaluation. Some have brought civil lawsuits. There is little evidence that the derailment and its contamination will pose long-term health risks, environmental authorities have said, but residents want more testing. The disaster response has become a political flashpoint, with Republicans seizing on the disaster to criticize President Biden and Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg. Democrats have aimed their ire at the railroad. Norfolk Southern CEO Alan H. Shaw apologized for the disaster in a congressional hearing Thursday and said he runs a, quote, safe railroad.
Bullshit.
Oh, bless your heart.
Now, I noticed he showed up for Congress, but he can't show up for a city council meeting.
True. Oh, love it, Shannon. Love it, Shannon. So Shannon's got a little comment here. Look, when I said we were due for another plague and financial collapse, I wasn't talking about immediately.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So the company has spent $21 million to support communities in eastern Ohio and nearby western Pennsylvania. Shaw told the Senate Environmental and Public Works Committee. He did not specify what cleanup and safety measures Norfolk Southern would offer. At Tuesday's news conference, Yost said he has been discussing compensation with Norfolk Southern attorneys and that the lawsuit was an additional way to hold the company accountable. This was an epic disaster, and it's going to take some significant dollars to get the people of East Palestine to where they were before February 3rd, Yost said. So, yeah, there's that. Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes I want to hear, 21 million, is that 20 million spent to your public relations firm and then another million supporting this disaster?
Yeah.
What's the number? What comprises 21 million?
Exactly.
And then,
Because
that's a big number.
They're doing their stuff.
Right. Well, but
yeah.
No, I was just going to say 21 million it sounds like a big number. If that were our grocery budget, it would be unbelievable. But for the level of incident that they have had,
mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, that's probably nowhere near enough.
Right.
That's a drop in the bucket. It's gonna be expensive,
mm-hmm.
and no one should expect it shouldn't be expensive.
Right. They dumped chemicals literally into everything, including the Ohio River, which, we know the Canal River, you can get 3 freaking heads if you go swimming in it. I wonder how many heads the Ohio River will give you now.
But if you were looking for fish that could look like all the stages of the big mouth bass. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
It wasn't Billy the big mouth bass, the little dancing, singing. Yeah.
Yeah.
You could potentially fish in the Ohio River now and get that.
Well, that's debatable. We could probably get that in the New River. Taking us to our next story, thanks to our Patreon reporters.
Oh, yes. Oh, so from WBOI, train derails and catches fire in southern West Virginia. Sandstone, West Virginia, a train derailed and crashed in Sandstone, Summers County, in the early hours of Wednesday morning. The train hit a boulder and crashed into the New River, according to Summers County 911. The train caught on fire as the result of the crash, but Summers County 911 confirmed the fire was contained as of 7:45 a.m. Wednesday. Pretty sure falling into the river kind of helped extinguish it as well.
Well, no, burning coal will float.
Well, there's that. The train was a CSX coal train, which was not carrying any coal at the time of the crash. 3 members of the train's crew were taken to a local hospital as a result of the derailment. Sandstone, Hinton, Pipestem, and Summers County fire departments responded to the incident, along with Summers County EMS. And that is everything our local reporting had to say on the matter. It literally got all the attention of a school bake sale.
Right.
This is West Virginia. Ohio at least got some press on it. We have a train derail, and it's also there's a school bake sale. It's Tuesday.
Yeah.
It's Tuesday.
we then have to go to the news situation. And when I say the news situation, we have to go to Facebook
True.
to look at this. And I know where this is at. Like I know this area. We've gone to this area. We've been down there. And I am like, are you kidding me?
Mm-mm.
And they've pulled the story.
Oh, they've pulled it.
Yeah, they pulled the pictures. They pulled the story. Well, the only thing is, it's not.
Oh. Well, crap. But yeah, no, that sounds about normal. Sounds about
Yeah.
normal.
What's interesting is this one, or the original report,
Mhm.
they didn't know if it was Summers or Fayette County.
Do what now?
It's on the Summers/Fayette County border.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the original report was that it was in Fayette County. Nope, it's in Summers County.
Ah. Sounds like y'all have the same kind of property dispute with railroads that my grandmother used to have with her house.
Right.
Because basically, it's a simple situation is the line for the city ran down the middle of the road.
Yep.
She lived in the county.
Mm-hmm.
So it was cute watching, county mounties and the local donut shop supporters argue over which one had to get out of their car because of where the accident started, where the accident ended up, and what took place where.
Right. Now,
And whose
Tucker, apparently,
jurisdiction
one of the EMS workers, doesn't say who he is, it's just Tucker. Welcome to West Virginia reporting. In this very moment, in the early moments of a derailment like this, our first priority is the safety of crew. That has been assured. Right now, we are focused on the environmental contaminants. We do not know the extent of what is leaked, but once we deploy the buoys, we will be able to determine that, and that is what we're focusing on right now. Tucker said.
Mm-hmm.
So there were more crap dumped into the New River.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's at least at one point what they thought.
Right. There was just.
I mean,
they don't know what was on the train or the 4 locomotives.
Right. Well, and that may be part of, like, it's a developing news story. And, someone got woken up in the middle of the night to respond to this. And they're like, okay, well, here's our standard protocol and what we say when this occurs.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, our first priority is the crew. And, if there's any chemical, blah, 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 blah. Slightly misquote that. Right. And makes it sound like, oh, God, the train was loaded full of chemicals. We just saw this in Ohio. And now it's in the New River. Like, great.
Well, this coal and diesel and whole freaking train just joins the New River. For those that don't know, the New River has a full gold train sitting in the bottom of it in the Dolly Mountain. Well, nobody will go down and get the gold because the catfish are too big and the chemicals are too bad to get there.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is the river you want to go swimming in.
Well, I have no problem going swimming in it because I know where to go. It's not down in the gully. You go up in the New.
Oh, okay.
Uh-huh.
All righty. Well, I'm glad we get the direction of water correct on that one.
Yes.
Like, no. We're not swimming at the point in which I get 7 testicles. No. We're going upriver.
Yeah, right. We're not going to Chemical Valley. We're going actually to where it enters it flows up from Virginia into West Virginia.
Yeah, well, and it's not like West Virginia hasn't had problems with Dow Chemicals all these years, just setting up just giant storage containers right next to a river. Just, they're leaking. Right. It's not really a big deal. Like, yeah, oh, what? Wait, excuse me? Hi.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Got a comment from Brenda coming up.
Mhm.
So Mom talked about State Line Bar in her day. Pennsylvania, West Virginia line that ran down the center of the bar. One side was dry, one side you could legally drink. When the police showed up, everyone walked to the legal side of the bar. And you know what's funny though? I had to explain this at one point to someone I worked with
Mm-hmm.
as to like the realities and the
Mhm.
the pinpoint precision involved
Right.
when you're looking at maps.
Right.
Because, maps don't care there's a building there.
Right.
Maps don't care. And the reality of a map is that if you were to translate what you see on a property map or a state map or a city map, whatever, into a giant like painted line, like that line could end up bigger than the house.
Right.
Because like that's what you're representing in that map is this, and it's like, yeah, so it's real easy to actually have stuff just get divided straight down the middle or piece cut off. Like, oh, that's in the city. Oh, that's in Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really problematic.
Mm-hmm.
When you're sitting there trying to make sure, because now you have a property that is situated in a way that you have two sets of state taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Or potentially two sets of not state property taxes, what I'm trying to say, county property taxes for two different states worth of counties.
Mm-hmm.
Hard sentences. And if anything ever goes wrong,
It's
luck.
Nobody's fault.
Yep. Well, it's not our fault. We did whatever in, blah, blah, blah state and blah, blah, blah county.
Yep.
And they'll fight back and forth forever. This is what people get really funky about buying property right on a border.
Right.
Is because it can become a nightmare.
Or it can become no man's land.
Or it can become the hilarity of every time the police show up, run to the wet side of the bar.
Right.
Wrong side, get over there.
Uh-huh. But, it's just insane what's going on right now. We're living in trying times, but it's been interesting. So over the weekend, a New York bank collapsed.
Yeah, what? We've lost another one.
Yes. New York bank failure.
I'm sorry, did I get a second article or a third article?
No, you haven't.
Okay. I was sitting here like, what?
Signature Bank collapsed over the weekend, making risky bets on crypto and a run on bank deposits tanked Signature Bank. Regulators said keeping open the 24-year-old institution, which held deposits from law firms, real estate companies, could threaten the financial system's stability. Signature Bank, a New York financial institution with a big real estate leading business, recently made a play to win the crypto deposit. Closed its doors abruptly on Sunday after regulators said that keeping the bank open could threaten stability of the entire financial system.
Okay, I'm wondering which direction you're going to take that statement, because I can see that cut in two different ways. One, you've said here and continuously said, do not get into crypto, like Bitcoin, all that. No. And I'm in the same boat. I'm like, no, stay away. No.
Right.
Like they're valuing this shit like crazy.
Right. So, point blank, crypto basically killed this bank because they were counting crypto as part of their depository things. Some of the extent of Signature Bank is victim to panic about around Silicon Valley, which regulators seized Friday. Its closing underscores the challenges faced by small and mid-sized banks, which often focus on niche lines of business and have narrow base of customers than the Goliaths like JP Morgan and Chase or Bank of America, that leaves them especially vulnerable to old-fashioned bank runs.
Well, yeah, because they're especially if they're sitting here catering to like the niches that have like a lot of adversity around them.
Mm-hmm.
Or like you're talking about with Signature Bank, no, I really don't think regulators are going to find it appropriate
Mm-hmm.
that you're counting, because when they're saying counting amongst your deposits,
Right.
what we're talking about is your bank does not have to have on hand the assets that are actually deposited with it. So, if, like, let's pretend the bank only had one customer, and that's you, and you have $100,000 on deposit at the bank. Okay, the bank can invest and give mortgages and loans, etc., based on that $100,000. They don't have to have the full $100,000 available to give back to you immediately.
Mm-hmm.
But they are required to have a certain percentage of it available.
Right.
Okay, so what they're saying is that Signature was counting of the percentage that they were supposed to hold in reserve crypto to meet that regulatory compliance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no federal regulator is going to look at you and go, that's fine. Yeah, I totally have enough faith and whatever in crypto to let that slide.
Right.
No, that's a high risk investment.
Mm-hmm.
So effectively what happened, your $100,000,
Mm-hmm.
and I forget what what it is, the minimum they have to keep on hand. It's a certain percentage of all deposits.
Right.
But anyway, let's pretend for a second it's 25%. So instead of having $25,000 in cold hard cash on hand, they had less than that because they were counting crypto.
Right.
And it's like, no.
Yeah. Getting work.
No.
I don't know it all.
Yeah, no, that's no, don't no. But that's part of this like concept is when we're talking about like Silicon Valley Bank, and we're talking about, and I don't know, it's just feeling like it's going to be like one of those years of bank collapse.
Right.
Like someone just finally woke up and went, oh God, we need to investigate these people. Shit, we forgot.
Right.
I don't know. I figure it's probably going to be a couple more. Because it tends to be one of those things. You collapse one bank, and it tends to be a domino effect.
Right.
Like another one, and another one, and another one. And it doesn't mean that there's a national problem. It just means, like, sometimes they all tie together.
Well,
but
here's the thing. And here's what happened with Silicon Valley.
Mm-hmm.
40 billion went out of Silicon Valley in 12 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So they quickly exhausted their reserve.
Yeah, they had no reserve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and when we're talking about reserve, I want to explain that is the money that the bank is required to have on hand for depositors to come and perform financial transactions with. When you go to the bank and you want to, like, hi, I just got my paycheck, I want to pull $50 out of the ATM. Yeah. Hi, I wrote a check and someone's going to come in and cash it. Literal cash, pay me in cash.
Right.
Like this is supposed to be their minimum to be able to operate.
Right.
So that they don't have a liquidity problem.
Right.
Because it's a hell of a thing if you go to your bank and they look at you and go, we're sorry, we don't actually have enough money to cash that check.
Mm-hmm.
That freaks people the fuck out.
Right.
Like, no. But at the same time, the reason that the banks are allowed to not have that, are not required to have the full amount on deposit is one, it allows banks to make money through investments and lending and all those things.
Right.
But additionally, it reduces their target for robbery. Yeah. If you have like $2 billion, like again, I'm just inventing numbers. If you have $2 billion in total deposits,
right,
and you're literally thinking about there's $2 billion in that building, I call that a pretty good target.
right.
Like, you know what? Like, I think a lot of us could go, the risk reward on that whole bank robbery thing starts to sound pretty good.
Right.
So it reduces the amount of physical cash assets that are available, and your bank can always free them up and just tell you it's a really unusual withdrawal amount. Because if you are fully closing an account,
right,
and it has several $1 million, your bank's going to look at you and say, we can do that as a cashier check, but we cannot hand you that in cash.
Right.
Like, you have to wait and come back tomorrow. We have to have a cash delivery to handle that.
Right.
And they will look at you and do that. Not saying that from experience, but that's actually a thing.
Right.
You can have an account too big to close.
Right. Because you will kill their bank.
Yeah. Yeah, you would potentially, not only could you wipe out their entire reserve, but you could run them into a deficit. As in, they physically don't have that much cash to hand you.
Right.
Like, they'll gladly do a check. And
this is even greaterly affecting than the bigger businesses. All
Mhm.
right, so we have to back up. We're going to go into some psychic news. We're going to psychic talk here.
Okay, cool.
So there's been a very large push for psychics, private psychics, and even some network psychics to move over to using Etsy to sell readings, especially like call readings, text readings. Now, this push has been going on for a year and a half since we got declassified from banned products on Etsy. So a lot of psychics have built their business around this concept, around this idea. As in, they're writing their mortgage payments off their Etsy checks.
Right. Well, and a lot of people are. Like, Etsy has been a very viable platform for a lot of creators, a lot of artists, a lot of people who are working independently to sell goods and services. Like, it's been a very popular platform. It's made Etsy an ungodly amount of money, and it's made others a lot of money.
Right.
Continue, though.
All right. So Etsy sent out, we get the information that, and no, Aeson is not on Etsy.
Yeah.
Sorry,
one place you will not find the Aeson Knight brand is Etsy.
Let's see. And that's for other reasons.
Excuse me.
All right. Yeah. So we have that. Part of the problem, though, is Etsy uses Silicon Valley as their payment processor.
One of, isn't
one
it?
Of them.
Yeah.
One of them.
Yeah. And I think what's happened there is they've done a division.
Right.
Because what they declassify or change classification on, to make it quote unquote legal to sell readings and legal to sell spells and legal to sell was they previously banned the occult. And that's what you guys were or what your industry was knocked out for, was they considered you a cult. Occult, OCCULT. And I think what they did is they segmented you guys that were on there into a very specific payment processor that didn't have a problem with this. Because, sort of like the war on drugs, you can go after people who sell drugs, and that takes forever. But make some rich white old dudes really uncomfortable, your shit gonna get shut down real quick.
Very quick.
Yeah, that's where like drug money became totally cash. was because rich white bankers got their boxers in a knot.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
no.
So anyhow, Fallout. Let me see if they're releasing numbers. Sources of Metaphors were stunned to discover that they would not be getting paid yesterday after the marketplace and the Etsy announced it is unable to process some sales payments because it uses Silicon Valley to distribute funds. Furious sellers took to social media complaining on one of the panics, a mother of three, saying she needs these funds to feed my family and pay my bills. All of the rest of us does. Another revised that she would be unable to pay her mortgage next week if the issues weren't resolved quickly. Entrepreneur Amber, who runs a personal gift company called Little Miss Lovely Creations, says that she was freaking out over the news. I'm a mom of three. I run a small business. I do this from my home, she says in a TikTok video. These funds are needed for my family and to pay my bills. So this is a big crisis because it went through everywhere.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
had knock-on effects.
Yeah. And this is a lot of like businesses who use the financial distributions of some sellers. We are working with our other payment partners to issue your deposits as soon as possible. We apologize for any inconvenience or disputes that may have been caused. We know that you are counting on us to help run your business, and we understand how important it is for you to resolve your funds when you need them. Please know that our team is working hard to resolve this issue and send your funds as quickly as possible.
Okay, so they inadvertently gave a number.
Uh-huh.
They didn't intentionally give it because I don't think they want people knowing how many people this is affecting.
Uh-huh.
So they minimized it.
Uh-huh.
So 1 second. 0.05, because they're calling it 0.5% of sellers.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I hit divide instead of crap. So 7.5, because there are 7.5 million sellers
Mm-hmm.
on Etsy. That means 37,500 people are affected if you're talking about half a percentage point.
Right.
37,500 people.
Right.
That's a lot of sellers.
Yeah, that's a lot of sellers. That has been, and it has been burning up the psychic news about, okay, how do we restructure our business? What should we be doing?
Yeah, get the fuck off Etsy like we told you to.
Well, get the fuck off. Handle some of your own payment shit. Call Mystic Computers and we will help build you a site that you use and distribute and access and work within your own shit.
Yes, and with payment processing, I'm sorry, I'll give this away for free. Stripe and PayPal.
Yeah.
Have both never had an issue, do not have an issue. Now, if they see unusual activity, they'll shut you individually down.
Mm-hmm.
If they receive complaints about you individually, they'll shut you down.
Mm-hmm.
They will not and have not. Like PayPal especially has been very, very careful.
Right.
To attack the individual problems.
Right.
Instead of going after entire industries.
Right. Okay.
And they sluice out pretty quickly if someone is we don't do that.
Right.
Like, no. Right. Like, you're not charging someone $50,000 for anything.
Exactly. Now, here's the thing, and this is the thing that psyche, there is a show, it's a video popping out 3:30 Saturday. You're going to see us starting to proof ourselves against this occurring.
Mm-hmm.
Pay attention, psychics. 3:30 on Saturday. Go watch the beginning This is the Psychic of the Plans budget edition. That's going to be a weekly video put out for you guys to take you along the steps of how you do this. One, but, because if you are online selling, cases like the mom of three, a case, all these cases, you'd be like, okay, there's going to be a delay. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, because it is something that with some good budgeting, you can avoid the impact.
Right.
But if you're living from one sale to the next,
right,
and one deposit to the next, no, you can't afford it at all.
No.
But a large part of it has to do with understanding your business flow.
Right.
And budgeting around it.
Right.
And going, okay, here's what, you can do with this.
Right.
And sometimes having the really hard conversation of maybe this is more of a side hustle right now, a very profitable one.
Right.
But a side hustle.
Right. And that's what I'm seeing a lot in the psychic industry right now. And we were talking about this. There's been a few posts. This has killed their business. They are leaving. They are leaving the industry because they can't afford this. And it's like, excuse me, because right now no networks are hiring.
Yeah.
Unless you've got a name, and then they're going to come and hire you specifically. But newbies, we've got newbies on a waiting list.
Yeah.
So if you started out on Etsy, you'll get paid, and you need to get a month ahead. If and you need to be prepped for that. You need to have that $1,000 worth of cash. While the government, luckily Biden, President Trump, stepped up and said, we ain't having this shit. And we're going to take a break, and then we'll get into what Elizabeth Warren had to say.
Okay.
But psychics, pay attention to the old man here who's seen this shit. I was around in 92 when the industry went dead. Prop yourself up to operate a month in advance. First goal, you need to be able to be a month in advance on everything.
Well, and I think we're also seeing some blowback on the fact that a lot of people lost their jobs during the pandemic. Right. I know we try not to say that word. But I think we're seeing some blowback of that is a lot of people went for, alternative employment. I don't know what else to call it. It's gig employment. It's different employment. And I think a fair number found themselves going, well, I can read cards. I can go on a network. I can do that. And a lot of them did this in a moment of desperation financially, like their personal financial desperation is what technically brought them.
Right.
And I think for some, they were so far behind that they never got to the ahead.
Right.
And it's just been this constant game of like tread water, tread water, tread water.
Right.
Etsy was a really great platform because that was about the same time that they went, okay, fine, we'll allow that.
Right.
And for some, I think that like they never quite got their business fully, in motion. Yeah. Like it just kind of, it's been treading water, enough to keep the lights on, enough to keep the car payment made, enough.
Right.
But those payments are still sporadic.
Right.
And so, I think for some, it wasn't really like you used to talk about when you left your full-time real job, quote unquote. Right. And did this full time. You had an option. You already had the full-time job that was paying full-time pay. You sat down, you did the math and went, this is the break point in which I can go, screw you, getting up every morning at, 7 a.m. to get in the shower and sit in traffic and go sit at a desk in a cubicle farm, like bullshit. Like I work from home, because I can make more money or I can make at least as much as I'm making there and going through all that and doing all that.
$35
I think the reason that like networks aren't hiring and that, this is impacting so many people on Etsy and, on and on and on is there was a huge influx in 2020.
Right. Well, and, there is a knack to running this business. There is a knack because no one except me, and I believe Christina Quick, which she does lovely. She takes a different take on it, but she does lovely.
Mm-hmm.
Teaches how to do this, how to run this spiritual business,
Yeah,
how to,
and
make money and make a livelihood and work with 40 different, worldwide organizations to figure out what is what.
well, yeah, and more importantly, keep it diversified. Keep it, keep
Keep it,
all of your eggs out of one basket.
yes,
So that, okay, if this network goes down and if this site goes down and if this payment isn't going to come in
mm-hmm.
because there's a total banking failure
Right,
of, like a specific bank that is their sole, provider on this front.
right,
Because I think that's what happened is I think they moved a segment of Etsy retailers based on what they selected when they created their shops.
mm-hmm.
I think they moved that whole segment to one payment processor and went, fine, run them through them. That's my theory.
Well, what has occurred here is, and this occurs a lot, is you can get multiple forms of payment. You can get PayPal, you can get bank deposited, you can get paper checks.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a large company, you will have the ability, the Etsy people have the choices of those three ways. Mm-hmm. I think what happened was, and then it later says in another article that Etsy had moved some of the payment processors to another partner.
Ah.
This is not that partner. This is the one that accepts a specific type of payment in a specific location in a specific way. So now they're stuck.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep.
It's unfortunate, but it is part of building a business. Is you do have to have some degree of resiliency, especially if you know from the get-go.
Right.
And it's part of understanding your business.
Mm-hmm.
If you know from the get-go, you're in a field that has had controversy,
right,
that has its own potential set of bad actors,
right,
because unfortunately it does. We've seen that. We've talked about it on the show. We've tried to explain how to avoid those.
Right.
And one more plug, because we never get tired of saying these words. Corby Mitlid writes a book. Yellow Brick Road. Go find it. Corby Mitlid. It's out there. It's on Amazon.
The whole thing you need, if you're a psychic, you need is you've got the magic. Why do you need a genie? The clients need the Yellow Brick Road to avoid those bad actors. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about what Elizabeth Warren's up to, which I love her. And there's another one, Kathy Frank. Those two, I'm about ready to move to other states just so I can vote for them.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Dottie the Psychic, and I'm sure you're wondering why I'm not wearing any makeup. Well, one reason is to irritate my social media manager, Aeson Knight. Hi, Aeson. The other reason is because I like to get to the naked truth about what it means to be a neurodivergent LGBT person with psychic abilities. I've got vlogs, blogs, and podcasts and videos all related to trying to live my best life and helping witches and bitches do the same thing. So, you can check all that out and get a reading from Dottie the Psychic at DOTTIEthepsychic.com. Safe travel and much profit to you.
Do you have a cute pet? We know you do. Each week, Tracy Vann chooses from submitted photos a featured reader for her Facebook page and provides a tarot reading. Your adorable pet cat, dog, rabbit, goat, chicken, snake, or more could be her next featured reader. Visit TracyVann.com, TracyVann.com, and click Featured Reader to submit. We look forward to seeing your pet next.
Hey everybody, Lady Gwendolyn here, and I am here to tell you how to get in contact with me and a little bit about what I do. I am the high priestess that works with shadow work to help you grow and heal. And I work with access bars, Reiki, I do power forms. I'm recently getting into crystal healing, sound therapy as well. So you can go to Lady Gwendolyn Healing, that is LadyGwendolynHealing.com. Book your appointment with me. I do in person, I do over the phone, I do over Zoom. We can do that as well. My main goal is to help you grow and heal because I've been there. I'm still going through it, and let my strength help guide you. See you soon.
Hey everybody, Natalie here from The Pendulum's Path. If you are in need of guidance, direction, spiritual connection, healing, or more, you have come to the right place. I have worked as a psychic and a medium for over 3 years, connecting people from all over the world with their loved ones, giving them insight and guidance into their current situations, their past healings, their blockages, and what they need to know in order for them to have a better future. It would be my absolute honor if you would come to my website at www.thependulumspath.com. Visit my shop. I have a whole bunch of crystals, oils, balms, mystery boxes, and more. And visit my services. I offer 15-minute, 30-minute, and 60-minute sessions. I also have email readings available if you're not comfortable with the one-on-one session with me, or if you just want to try me out. I encourage you to come visit me at the Pendulum's Path, and let's get you back on the right track today.
Right.
So yeah. This has been fun.
Yeah.
All
And
right,
let me
so
correct myself.
Warren.
Not Kathy Frank. It's
Oh, sorry.
Representative Kathy Porter of California.
Katie Porter.
Katie Porter.
I'm sorry, I was having a whole moment. I was Kathy Frank. Who the hell is Kathy Frank? Like my brain was just like, who the hell is...
Yeah.
Katie Porter,
Mhm.
very different person. Love her. Loved what she did to Jamie Dimon.
Yeah.
Like that
It
was
was interesting to watch him squirm. Fucking asshole.
Yeah, if you want fun, if you really want the all the joyful experience of watching someone get nut punched, but in a civilized manner,
Right.
yeah, Katie Porter, Jamie Dimon, look that up on YouTube. Oh, it's a work of art. All right, so CNBC brings us Warren unveils bill to repeal Trump-era bank deregulation she says led to SVB signature collapses. So here's your key points. A new bill introduced by Democrats in the House and Senate would lower the asset threshold for banks to qualify for enhanced regulation to $50 billion. Part of the Dodd-Frank Act, the oversight threshold was initially set at $50 billion, but raised to $250 billion in 2018, a major victory for the banking lobby. The collapsed Silicon Valley Bank had assets of around $209 billion, leading Democrats to argue that the collapse could have been averted if SVB had been subject to the higher oversight standard.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, and this is a fun one. So a group of Democratic senators introduced new legislation Tuesday to repeal Trump-era bank deregulations they say created the conditions that allowed for the dramatic collapse of Silicon Valley Bank and the closure of Signature Bank since Friday. The new bill lowers the threshold at which banks deemed, quote, too big to fail are subjected to enhanced federal supervision under the 2010 Dodd-Frank Act. Under Dodd-Frank, the tighter capital and liquidity requirements known as enhanced prudential standards were applied to any bank with consolidated assets of $50 billion or more. Right away, mid-sized banks, including SVB, began lobbying Congress for an exemption from the tighter oversight rule. In 2018, the lobbying paid off when Republican majorities in the House and Senate voted to raise the bank asset threshold to $250 billion. And then President Donald Trump signed it into law. On the Senate floor Tuesday, Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts drew a straight line from the 2018 deregulation effort to the 2023 failure of SVB and Signature. Quote, the weakened rules permitted banks like SVB and Signature to load up on risks, run up their profits, pay their executives giant bonuses, and eventually blow the bank to pieces, said Warren. Silicon Valley Bank had roughly $209 billion in assets when the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation shuttered it on Friday, while Signature had $110.4 billion in assets when the New York Department of Financial Services took it over Sunday. A longtime critic of the banking industry, Warren is one of the chief sponsors of the new legislation, which would lower the asset threshold for enhanced prudential measures back to its original $50 billion level. A similar bill was introduced in the House by Representative Katie Porter, a California Democrat and one of several members of the House vying for the seat of retiring Senator Dianne Feinstein. Both bills have a number of Democratic co-sponsors, but a complete list was not available Tuesday evening. Quote, if Congress and the Federal Reserve had not rolled back key provisions of Dodd-Frank, these banks would have been subject to stronger liquidity and capital requirements and regulators standing at their shoulder, looking more closely at every part of the bank's businesses, said Warren. But because those stringent requirements were taken out of Dodd-Frank, when an old-fashioned bank run hit SVB, the bank could not withstand the pressure, she said. As Congress begins to examine the oversight collapse of SVB and the actions taken by regulators to stem a broader banking crisis, fresh fault lines are emerging not only between Democrats and Republicans, but among individual members of each party. In the Senate, there are 13 members of the current Democratic caucus who joined Republicans in 2018 to vote for the regulatory rollback of Dodd-Frank, including Virginia Senator Mark Warner, who leads the Senate Intelligence Committee. Warner has defended his 2018 vote in recent days, and his comments underscore the difficulty Warren is likely to encounter in seeking to repeal the 2018 rules. Quote, I think it put in place an appropriate level of regulation on mid-sized banks, Warner said last week, of his 2018 vote. These mid-sized banks needed some regulatory relief, he told ABC News This Week.
Really?
Yeah. While the repeals path forward in the Senate is tricky, its path in the Republican-controlled House is all but impassable. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy of California tweeted Tuesday that the real culprit for the SVB and Signature collapses was President Joe Biden's economic agenda. Quote, Biden's reckless spending caused record inflation and rapid interest rate hikes that broke family budgets and banks too, wrote McCarthy, adding, we must restore fiscal sanity. Oh,
for love of Pete God. All right, so if they had 209
billion. Yeah.
209 in assets, and 40,000 went out. They were 1 billion short of having the new regulatory line.
Do what now?
They had 209.
Yeah.
Plus 40 is 249.
Mm-hmm.
They were 1 billion short. I think the standard needs to be higher.
Yeah. Well, and that's depending upon when you take the number.
Right.
Like, are they talking about that's what they were before the $40 billion run?
No, that's when they took control of the bank and shut it down.
So they shut it down at 209.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were sitting there right at the line. They knew.
Yeah.
Like, they stopped offering toasters, let me tell you what.
Uh-huh.
They're like, no, we don't want your business. Keep moving.
Yeah.
We can't take your big ass account because it'll boop us over Dodd-Frank.
Right.
Yeah, that's basically sounds about right.
Yeah.
But no, like, what gets me though is that yes, this all came out of the 2008 housing bubble.
Mm-hmm.
In which banks were lending to unqualified buyers,
right?
people who should never have been qualified,
Right.
and to people that were marginal at best.
Right.
Insane amounts of money, and then selling them off
Right.
to investment portfolios. And then the investment world was betting against those mortgages anyway,
Right.
because they knew they were garbage,
Right.
because effectively they were qualifying people that literally it was a moment in which the bank was writing a mortgage
Mm-hmm.
that they knew more than likely these people would never be able to afford,
Mm-hmm.
that the house would go into foreclosure,
Right.
and like literally there was no hope,
Right.
because of the way these mortgages were written. They were toxic. They were a toxic
Right.
product.
Right. Well, my
Um,
question is how often do these senators and congressmen like to get woke up?
Oh, how so?
All right. When signature failed,
Mm-hmm.
okay, every member of the Congress and the Senate was woke up and brought into a Zoom call at 2 in the morning to figure out what to do,
Mhm.
because the market was opening in 6 hours.
Mm-hmm. So if you don't make a decision now,
Now your economy is going to collapse in 6 hours. The $3 trillion Chase Morgan lost 1.8% of its liquidity.
oh yeah,
Okay, within the couple hours of opening.
Mhm.
What's
like
interesting
it's just it is seriously concerning to consumers, let alone investors, which is the bigger problem with the stock market.
right,
It's really concerning when banks start failing.
right,
And we've seen that, and we've had this conversation on Sunday.
right,
Because one of our viewers, Devin, was like, are we in a total financial crisis? Like, what the hell?
mm-hmm.
And that's fair. That's a fair question to have in this situation, is like, what the hell? Why are banks failing?
Right,
The reason banks are failing
mm-hmm.
has everything to do with they're flying too close to the sun for profits,
Right,
and then they're getting their asses burned
right,
when someone in the investment world
mm-hmm.
comes back through and says what everyone else knew.
Mm-hmm.
They're flying too close to the sun.
Right,
They're in highly risky investments.
right,
They're highly volatile. They could collapse.
right. Well, and then you have quotes like this coming out from Cotterfield. I wouldn't want to be running a regional bank right now where my services are no different from my competition. Regional banks have been seen as risky since they do not have the scale to compete against larger competitors, larger account balances. Once seen as a protective sign that the bank's clients are well off, were liable since they could not be withdrawn at the first sign of trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, we bank in a small little town bank.
We do.
We do. I have to have an account with a larger bank. How much on it? It's normally a money transfer point because I get paid internationally, and the little bank we have can't handle that.
Well, and a fair number, and it's like there's a lot that goes into it. And the short version is, yes, the volume and the international
Mm-hmm.
portion of it really throws off a lot of banks.
Right.
They're like, I don't know what this is. Please make it go away.
Right.
Versus the larger international financial product you use is well recognized name. And they're like, oh, so okay, we recognize them. We don't care what the money's from. We're sure they covered it.
Right. Yeah.
Instead of, Bank of Kuala Lumpur or whatever.
Right. Well, not only that, but they don't have the money exchange. Like if I get paid in
Oh,
the
God.
last currency trade, the ruble,
Well, if you get paid in rubles, if you get paid in Australian dollars,
That's smart.
I don't even think our bank's too friendly with Canadian dollars, to be
No,
honest.
they're not friendly with Canadian dollars at all. So,
And God knows, because when I went to Mexico, I had a moment
Mm-hmm.
where I was like, at one point, I wasn't even going to take my card with me.
Uh-huh.
And then I went, well, okay, but I'd rather, because I was literally at that time, I was waiting for a new credit card to come in.
Mm-hmm.
That would have covered the trip and everything been fine, but it didn't come in time.
Right.
Like, it basically sat in my mailbox the whole time I was in Mexico. It like probably showed up like the day I left.
Right.
But anywho, so like I had moved money onto a card that I knew would work.
Right.
And then my our bank,
Mm-hmm.
I really thought about just leaving the card at home because I knew it was going to be a nightmare if I did have to use it.
Right.
And then I thought about it and I went, well, I'd rather have it just in case.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, with our bank, if you're outside of our local-ish area,
Mm-hmm.
you have to call them
Mm-hmm.
and tell them what you're doing.
Right.
Because they will start blocking transactions
Mm-hmm.
the minute you cross the state line.
Right.
Like, and that's, I mean, sometimes a little marginal. Like, they're okay with the West Virginia line.
Right.
Because of where they're situated, they know most of their customers are going to go back and forth across that line.
Right.
But like, if I start trying to run it in Ohio and Pennsylvania and North Carolina, they're going to start throwing a fit.
Right. Well, they have a problem out of me because they get money from all over the goddamn place. Like they do.
Well,
they throw a fit at us all the time.
Well, yeah, they have some problems with, and again, this is part of the way that you get paid
Mm-hmm.
is very confusing to them.
Right.
Because most of our banking is set up for you get paid every Friday, you get paid by one company, you get paid every Friday, you get paid every 2 weeks, you get paid once a month, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
by one company, and it's usually a pretty fixed amount.
Right.
Like it's in a small wiggle room.
Right.
That's what they're used to.
Right.
And so you walk in there and it's like, hi, I'm going to get paid a variable amount
Mm-hmm.
from one of like 13 companies
Mm-hmm.
on any day of the week.
Mm-hmm. Any hour of the day.
Any hour of the day. Like there's no telling. Like you should see our bank statement. The fucking deposit section is hilarious.
Uh-huh.
It's just deposit. It looks like the inverse version of like taking your debit card and like I stopped at the store and grabbed a soda. I went to Walmart. I bought, like dinner. It's just like small charge in terms of deposit.
I printed our statement once. I had to track a payment. And I couldn't do it in the office. I couldn't, it was one of those days we were on the road. It was 49 pages.
Mm-hmm.
Because our lovely bank shows when they got the money, when it became available in different lines.
Yes.
And
like, so,
yeah.
Well, and I'm sitting here going, the largest statement I ever got prior to this.
Uh-huh.
The largest statement I ever got from them was like 9 pages.
Right.
And keep in mind, they have a whole page just to tell you about your deposit situation.
Right.
And a summary of the account.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go through transaction by transaction, as most bank statements do. But the biggest one I had ever seen before then was 9 pages.
Mm-hmm.
And literally the largest bank statement I ever saw was while working with the hospital volunteers.
Mm-hmm.
And those statements ran about 15 pages.
Right.
And that's a fully fledged business entity.
Right.
Like it has vendors, suppliers. It has a lot of money moving around.
Right.
Because it's a volunteer organization. We're making deposits from the gift shop. We're doing a lot, yada, yada, yada. The biggest one I saw there was 15 pages. And that was just because we got a crap ton of checks that.
Right.
I was not happy. That's a different story.
This is my less active account. 32 pages. Yeah.
32-page bank statements. That's what we're dealing with, folks. That's what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
Like, and that was a slow month, wasn't it?
That was February.
Oh, yeah. Good God. That was a slow month for that account. Because we did a fair amount, just left it and like just leave it in PayPal. I'll go run the transaction on the PayPal card. Just don't even bother.
Right.
We did that multiple times.
Yeah.
That month. Is
Yeah.
just leave it. Just leave
Just
it.
leave it.
I'll go use my PayPal card.
Right.
No big deal. And it's why my wallet looks like a flippin' y'all. This man has made my wallet in plastic look like a deck of playing cards. I have plastic. So much plastic. I could do a tarot reading. Based on, and I now granted, I'm taking to account like all of the bank cards. We'll call that the major arcana. And then all the store cards. I think I might be approaching the point I could do a whole damn tarot reading. Like, I could do a whole damn tarot reading. I just haven't figured out which one to call the Wheel of Fortune yet. I know which one.
That would probably be the E-Trade account because it's a money market account.
Fair enough. I know which one to call the Tower.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we want long transaction reports, many deposits. Yes, we love that. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, like, it's a paper monster.
Yeah.
To
like
one
digital done us great.
Oh, yeah, digital is the best way to go because we have to print this shit on paper. That's why our bank honestly hates us for paper clients.
Yeah.
Like he was really not getting why he kept getting quarterly charged in the beginning because they mailed his statement. And I'm like, honey, for the love of God, switch to paperless. Like, I would be annoyed too if as the bank, if I have to print a 30-some page statement and mail it to your ass. Because that's the point in which they don't fold it anymore.
No.
30-some pages, they don't fold it. They put it in an 8.5 by 11 envelope. Like no, they don't even fold that fucker in half.
Yeah, but you know what I'm sitting here looking at from the viewer of the business owner, looking at these businesses and looking at the things that have occurred in these businesses. How in a bank do you go, oh, there's this new strange money. There's this currency not regulated by the government. Let's sink our investments into it.
Well, no, and I don't even have a problem with the fact that a bank decided to invest in Bitcoin. I don't have a problem with that. I really don't. I think it's a high-risk investment, but I think like any investment portfolio, you should have some high-risk investments.
Right.
Some are going to pay beautifully.
Right.
And some aren't.
Right.
The problem becomes if you oversink your money into high-risk investing.
Right.
And this isn't even investment advice. This is like common fucking sense, guys. Like, think of it this way. Your friend comes to you and has a business proposition they need $5,000 for. you happen to have as your entire life savings $5,000,
Right.
and they can't really tell you what it is that they need the money for,
Right.
but if it all works out, they'll come back and give you $10,000.
Right.
But there's a small possibility that you may lose the $5,000 and they'll get arrested.
Right.
Okay, if you're talking about the $5,000 as your entire life savings,
Mm-hmm.
then no, don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah.
If it is 50% of your life savings, probably shouldn't do it.
Uh-huh.
But if you've got like $5 million in the bank, take the risk.
Yeah.
$5,000 off of $5 million, meh.
Yeah.
Meh. If you lose it, well, unfortunate. If you put $10,000 in, you made $10,000. If your total like life savings is $5 million.
Right.
That's the level we're at here, is that like Signature
Uh-huh.
was sitting there and they were investing to a level where it didn't make sense anymore.
Right.
Like you can't do that.
Right.
And especially not turn around and consider it part of
Mhm.
your requirements
Right.
for cash on hand.
Right.
And it's like, no. No. All
Right.
of that, like when we're talking about like that reserve,
Mhm.
that is supposed to be cash or as close to cash as it can be.
Right.
Investments.
Yeah.
Like it's the same thing as like when you get to a certain age,
Right.
you're supposed to downgrade your investments
Mm-hmm.
to more safe, reliable, predictable, low interest rate, low return, so that you protect the capital.
Right.
So that you don't potentially wake up on Monday morning, at age 63.
Right.
And find out that you just lost half your, retirement to a stock market thing.
Right.
Never ever should you ever.
Mm-hmm.
This is the same kind of concept
Mm-hmm.
of what that reserve is supposed to be, is very stable, predictable. You're not really going to lose your money.
Yeah.
Like horrible things would have to happen. And it
Right.
like at that point, it's not going to matter because the whole world has gone belly up.
Right.
For you to lose that money.
Right.
What they're doing is playing on the, hi, you're 20 years old and you just got a job at McDonald's and they offer a 401k.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Invest in stupid shit. It doesn't matter. Some of it'll pay off, some of it won't. Use a small portion to invest in like McDonald's and, other stable, reliable companies, and then go play with the rest. Go play with the rest. I don't care what you do. High risk investments, whatever. Some will pay off, some won't.
Right.
They're playing towards the 20 side, not the 60 and up crowd.
Right.
Or at least more to the 20 side than they should have been.
Right.
So, anywho, yes.
It gets crazy. It gets
I know.
crazier. So, guys, start taking care of your money. Start getting responsible. Start getting focused. Especially if you are trying to handle it and trying to handle it. Let's take a break, and when we come back, we're going to be finding out if Joe's an asshole and giving you some relationship advice.
All right.
Welcome back, Goblins! My name is Jason, and I am the host of the Esoteric Book Club, a podcast that examines titles on the magical, paranormal, the mysterious, and the strange. I release 2 episodes a month, in which I review books on esoteric topics, recap news of the weird, and conduct interviews with authors, practitioners, and experiencers. The Esoteric Book Club can be found on every major podcast service, or can be streamed directly from esotericbookclub.org.
Hi, I'm Tracy Van. I provide a blended reading consisting of mediumship, psychic, and tarot cards. A reading from me can cover any guidance you need from relationships with your partner or your family, spiritual, financial, any questions you may need clarity on. If you would like to book an appointment with me, check out my website, tracyvann.com. That's TracyVann.com. I have bookings from 15 to 60 minutes you may choose from. That helps if you just have a quick question, need an answer, or if you're looking for a reading in more depth, I'm here to provide the guidance and clarity for you. Let's just figure it out. Bye.
Hi, Techie Joe here. I work with Aeson Knight and some of the best psychics in West Virginia to create amazing live streams and podcasts for the Psychic Coffee Shop Network. Together, we brew up great content discussing news, events, hot topics, and more, all from a psychic perspective. On the Psychic Coffee Shop, we interview amazing authors in the metaphysical realm. Coffee and Tea combines Aeson with Tracy, Dottie, Natalie, or Lady Gwendolyn for the good and the bad of being a psychic. Shameless Self-Promotion with Dottie the Psychic talks to leading and emerging YouTubers and business owners in our community. Mountain Bears brings you the latest in LGBT news and politics. The Psychic That Plans answers the question of, well, how a psychic plans. Plus, we're live on air. We take your comments and your questions, including psychic advice questions. Check out our amazing programming, book an appointment with top psychics, and find out all the wonderful things we have to offer at PCSBnetwork.com today.
Hi, I'm Aeson Knight. I provide tarot readings covering everything from love and relationships to your life questions and your most spiritual answers. And also, I provide a lot of guidance in finances and divorces and all those relationship problems. So, if you'd like to get a reading from me privately, not on air, you can feel free to do so by visiting aesonknight.com and booking your appointment. I also provide on-demand services, so if your life is a little chaotic, you can go ahead and click that call now button there on my site. Great for a quick answer question. All right, guys, back to the show. Enjoy. Right.
Alrighty.
Back.
Yeah, so sorry, I don't think I got this one sent over to you, so I'm sending it to you in private chat real quick.
Okay.
All right, am I the asshole for finally telling my brother the truth, but throwing my parents under the bus to do so? Am I the asshole for finally telling my brother the truth, but throwing my parents under the bus to do so? I, 36 male, used to run a company with my 35 male brother and both my parents. It was supposed to be the dream of the sons taking over the family business. I had the ability to work in every department, so over the course of the last 10 years, I progressed to running the company. My brother, who worked harder than anyone else, floundered with any real responsibility. He was the ultimate task doer, but ask him to manage anyone or anything, and it would be a dumpster fire. My parents would protect my brother by tying my hands behind my back in regards to saying anything bad to my brother about the quality of his work or how he was failing at being a manager. My parents did not want his feelings to be hurt. My brother would get moved to a different department or have his job description changed so he wasn't in charge of anything that would hurt the company. They would never tell him he wasn't doing his job right. They would never tell him he sucked at his job. It was easier for them to lie to him so they could avoid any conflict or hurt feelings. I was complicit in this. I kept up the lies. I played the game. Resentments grew. My brother was still getting paid the same as me. I was running the company at this point. He was basically still in an entry-level position. So 2 years ago, I started a different company and left the family one. Less than a year later, my parents asked me to come back. I accepted on the condition that my brother would be bought out of the company. They agreed. So with my brother being bought out, I am now running the company solo. We gave him a group of our customers that he now services under his own company name. Life is good, or so I thought. I found out by one of my employees that my brother has been stealing product out of our warehouse. They were under the impression that we had some sort of deal worked out with me because we were family. Nope, he was just plain stealing. So when I confronted my brother, he admits to stealing, but went off on this rant of how I never respected him, that I was the biggest asshole because I was mean, and on and on. So then and there, I decided to stop lying and essentially told him all the lies from the last 10 years. How he got the short end of the stick because no one ever told him what he was doing wrong. How our parents just didn't want to hurt his feelings, but he knew he couldn't run the company. I was done lying. I just sat there and told the truth. So my parents are now mad at me because he's mad, like mad. And he has gone no contact with them, and they are worried that they won't be able to ever see him or their grandchildren again. So, am I the asshole for finally telling my brother the truth, but throwing my parents under the bus to do so?
No. If you suck, you suck.
No, that goes into the complicated web of, I understand not wanting to hurt your child's feelings.
Mm-hmm.
I also think somewhere around their 30s, there's got to be a way to do that without being a total asshole about it.
Right.
While actually protecting both a business.
Right.
And telling him in no uncertain terms that we're sorry, I don't think this is what you're meant to do.
Right.
And because that seems like where it's at.
Well, that's where
we're not meant to run a company.
Right.
Do what now?
It's also at the point of, no, you're crap.
Well, it's not that he's crap. I'm sure
he's stealing from another company.
Well, he is, but there's, I mean, in general, I'm sure he was an otherwise decent dude.
Well,
who could
apparently not that. He's not doing well with his clients. He's not making money. His parents are having to support him. He's obviously in the wrong job.
Right. And that's what I'm saying is, his parents tried to force him into running a family business.
Mm-hmm.
And this is sometimes the problem with having a family business.
Right.
Is some people just are not cut out for that. This is not going to be their passion. This is not going to be their thing. They're not going to be any good at it.
Right.
And that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
As his parents, you needed to recognize this early on.
Right.
Whatever your family business is, he doesn't need to be a part of it.
Right.
Not in that way.
Right.
Like, you want to make him, a financial beneficiary of the business while your older son runs it? That's a good legacy. That works.
Yeah, giving 15% of the stock to look cute.
Well, make sure he gets something out of this so that it's, that, because effectively it's an inheritance at this point.
Right.
Make sure he gets a reasonable percentage of it.
Mm-hmm.
For the amount of non-effort he's going to have towards it.
Right.
Comparative to his brother that's going to be running it entirely.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure he gets a reasonable, percentage of that. And have the fucking conversation, because honestly, I think his parents were an asshole.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sitting here going back and forth. Sometimes I don't... Here's the thing. I think some bad guys aren't born, they're made.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's parents doing this shit.
Right.
And family doing this shit.
Right.
That creates those bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
Because point blank, I doubt he's doing anything different than he did when his parents were there and in charge.
Right.
And I highly doubt
mm-hmm.
that any of that was considered stealing by them.
Right.
And it was like, oh, just take it. Don't worry about it.
Right.
You know, I get the feeling his parents were helping him
mm-hmm.
with his business and propping it up.
Right.
And then somehow that didn't translate.
Right.
So is he stealing? Yes, but I don't know that he knew
right.
quite to the point that he was stealing or that it was a problem.
Right.
Like, that's kind of where I'm at with this, is I think they have sheltered him to the point
Mm-hmm.
they broke him.
Right. And see, that's my other problem. Multiple problems with that. The parents built the business.
Mm-hmm.
They built it, they worked it, they've made money off of it. Apparently, it's very profitable because there's multiple departments. Great. I don't think either of the sons should have gone into that business.
Sometimes I think it's okay
Not free
for
and clear.
do what now?
Not free and clear.
Okay.
I also think that he should prosecute his brother for theft immediately.
I think he should try to settle that one with his brother.
Right.
And like make it whole. I don't think you.
Right.
I don't know that this is a situation like this is the point where protecting your brother is in terms of we're going to settle this.
Right.
Like we're going to settle up accounts.
Right.
Like I'm going to give you time to pay it back.
Right.
You're not going to do that again.
Right.
And you know, we're not going to turn this into
Right.
anyone gets arrested or tried or convicted or anything like that.
Right.
That's to me how you would help family in this situation
Mm-hmm.
is go, look, we had a huge misunderstanding.
Right.
And that's what we're going to call this.
Right.
And you're going to pay it back.
Right.
But not in a way that's like going to take food off of his table and, you know, put him in jail and everything else.
Right.
Like I'm loath to do that to family.
Right.
You know, like that's the form of nepotism I have.
Right.
Like I'm gonna be really loath, and I'm kind of have that towards most people though. Like my first resolve isn't to, or you know, resolution idea
Right.
isn't to lock someone up or get them arrested or whatever. Right. Like I worked with a student org that had an embezzlement situation.
Right.
My first impulse wasn't pick up the phone, call the police department, file a police report, and you go arrest his ass.
Mm-hmm.
My first resolve, or my first attempt, was to call and go, hi.
Right.
I don't know what you did or why you did it,
Mm-hmm.
but we need to get the money back in the account.
Right.
And you know, like work with me. We don't want to, you know, make this any bigger than it is.
Right.
We're going to call it an accident. And, you know, it was like $300.
Right.
All the organization had was $300. So technically it took us for everything we had.
Right.
But still, it was just, you know, let's figure out how to get the money back in the account.
Right.
Call it a misunderstanding.
Mm-hmm.
No one has to have a bad day.
Mm-hmm.
Someone made a mistake. You really like this. This is also why I didn't want there to be a debit card, and this is why I didn't want there to be ATM access.
Right.
But there was, and there was.
Right.
And they had the card, and they pulled money out.
Exactly.
Yeah. So my first reaction was not, and is not, to be like, let's go get people arrested.
Well, no, this is business.
Right.
It's kind of like if you found out that I took Mystic's accounts and was taking the money out of Mystic and forming another LLC somewhere
Mm-hmm.
and stealing server space from you because you never check your servers.
Yes, I do.
Uh-huh.
I'm not daily.
Exactly.
But believe me, when I log into the account, I'm going to, well, you know, I have to give a fair amount of credit with this many domains. It is a little harder to keep track. Like you could sneak a couple in there and I would not immediately be like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Like a couple, you could get a couple past me if they were similar.
Uh-huh.
But like if you had like, you know, mom and pop hardware.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think I'm going to notice that one.
Uh-huh.
You know, or like, but you know,
yeah,
you could probably get away with a .org or a .net that's one of the ones or similar enough to one of the ones we already have. Yeah, I'd probably not notice.
Yeah. And see, you know, wouldn't you be a little pissed off?
I would definitely not take it well.
Mm-hmm.
No, I would not be planting a new rose bush out back, but I wouldn't take it well.
Right.
And I think my first reaction would be, what the hell are you doing?
Right.
You can't do that.
Right.
So what we're going to do is you're going to go grab your card and you're going to start a contract with our, hosting company. And I'm going to transfer these domains over to you today. And you're going to manage them out of your account. And you're not going to do that again. Now, see, he says all this, and the reality is he doesn't have the ability to actually log into that account. Just as a side note, it's a two-factor authentication account. So even if he had the password, he can't get in without my phone. Which is usually pretty near me.
Most of the time.
Granted, unfortunately, so is he.
This is what this dude has done.
In terms of security,
he took supplies from his parents' business, and well, now this dude's business. He has taken clients from this person's business,
which they gave him.
Do you want to tell me he didn't take some extras there?
It's not what was said. I'm going off of what was said.
Like
they set him up. They set him up.
You are not an asshole because you did not arrest your brother for stealing company property.
Pardon?
He's not an asshole because he did not get him arrested for company property.
Right. And, well, moreover, I think not an asshole for finally telling him the truth.
Right.
I think, to some degree, you're an asshole for waiting this long.
Right.
I think your parents and you have done a real disservice to your brother.
Right.
While trying to do a good thing,
right.
Which is, here's a turnkey business, you just have to show up.
Right.
Without recognizing he has no aptitude for this and probably hates it.
Right.
But does it because he knows enough.
Right.
Or thought he did to be able to run it.
Right.
And I'd say more than likely, the OP and his parents have really set this guy up to fail from the start by continuously lying to him. And, changing the moving the goalposts so that, hi, any toddler could do it. And effectively keeping him in a position where he didn't really get to learn that he didn't have the ability to do this. I have problems with that, and I could almost go, you're the asshole. But as for the actual question, are you the asshole for finally telling my brother the truth and throwing your parents under the bus? No, you're not. Not the asshole.
All right. So the poll is up on the Aeson Knight YouTube page. Feel free to vote. And moving over to relationship advice. This is a little bit different one.
All right. I, 23 female, wants to leave a 5-year relationship with my live-in partner, 26 male. Where should I start? Hi, I'm 23 female and my boyfriend is 26 male. I can't find the strength to leave a toxic relationship. We have been dating for 5 years and we are living together for almost 2 years. My heart was never at peace when we started to live together. I have a house on my own and he moved in here almost 2 years ago. He is now close to my family and we also have 2 dogs. We are so toxic to one another and I don't know how to fix it. I'm the only one working and it seems like I am taking care of a child. He has no job. He sleeps whenever he wants to. He is so lazy that it infuriates me. We are drowning in debt, but I'm the one paying for all of it. He gaslights and invalidates me too. There are also times when he attempts to cheat by chatting with other girls online. There was one time when he choked one of our dogs because they won't stop fighting with one another. My mind keeps telling me that I should leave, but there's a part of me that thinks that maybe I'm the problem. I don't know where to start nor how to end this. I have no one to talk to about this because somehow I feel ashamed that this is where my life is now. So fellow Redditors, tell me what to do. There's more to the story, so please be kind to your in your replies.
Okay. First, you're going to get a bank account. Yes, we understand you own a home. We understand that home is hopefully in your name. You're going to get a bank account that is in your name, and you're going to start putting $30 a week in that bank account. You're going to save up enough money to exist for 1 month out of your house. Hotel, Airbnb, I don't care. That's step one. Step two, you're going to go and find a lawyer that has a server on staff that can serve eviction notices.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Once you go and live in your house, you will instruct your lawyer to serve eviction notices on him. You're going to take the dogs with you. You're going to live there for 30 days. You're going to evict him out. That will be the end of your relationship because you're also simultaneously needing your lawyer to get you a, restraining order and a warrant of peace, which makes it illegal for him to contact you.
Okay.
What's your advice?
One, I don't know that I'm going to advise the move out.
Okay.
I think you start more simply because I'm hopeful that this is at least a 2-bedroom house. So I would start with a deadbolt on whichever bedroom you want. Move all of his stuff into the other room and all of your stuff out of it. And serve him, find a lawyer, get your eviction notice, and let it be the 1-2 combo of this relationship is ending and I want you out.
Right.
That's where I would be at on that one because I have problems with don't necessarily in the beginning abandon your home.
Right.
Because unfortunately that could blow up in your face. Is if you leave your home, then effectively you're losing all control over the home. He's unemployed. He has no finances. He's run you up in debt. Your finances are screwed. You don't have much money left.
Right.
The last thing you want
Right.
is to have this one asset
Right.
become the unsupervised punching bag for his feelings, thoughts, and ideas on the termination of your relationship.
Right.
That said, you don't want to be in harm's way either.
Right.
So I would get very, very good at keeping your phone on you, charged and ready to go at any point. Be willing to hit that record button at a blink of an eye.
Right.
If you can set up a shortcut, please do that. Many phones do have a shortcut, like, click a button 3 times and it does X.
Right.
So look at that. Make sure you have the ability to quickly record while dialing 911.
Right.
So that you can both record his behavior and what he's doing while seeking help immediately.
Right.
And do not assume that, oh, he's just angry. Oh, he's just being loud. Oh, he's just.
Right.
No. The minute something starts, dial 911.
Right.
Dial 911. Do not pass go. Do not give a crap where he sleeps tonight. Don't care.
Right.
Because your safety is going to be paramount in the situation.
Right.
So start there. Would be my best suggestion. Now, if you are truly in fear of your life, because again, OP is alluding to it.
Right.
Then I would serve that eviction notice with an officer present. And potentially the situation will escalate while the officer is there. At which point that officer is going to instruct him to pack a bag and get the fuck out real quick.
Right.
Before he gets arrested.
Exactly.
So, and that may be a good starter point anyway, given, because it's borderline. like, okay, he's choked a dog, but it sounds like there was also a situation in which it was an overreaction to a bad situation with the dogs.
Right.
And it's like, I don't know how much of that is like dumb dude did dumb thing,
Right.
or highly aggressive, angry human
Right.
is demonstrating, that they're potentially going to be lethal towards animals and others.
Right.
Like, it's right there on the borderline. Like, because she's not talking about like he's throwing, he's knocking holes in walls. Like those are your classic early warning signs of physical violence in a relationship being imminent.
Mhm.
Is knocking holes in walls, destroying property, tearing up items that are precious to you, like, breaking your grandmother's clock, or, things like that.
Right.
In a non-accidental, like, shit happens.
Right.
Like, sometimes grandma's clock just gets knocked off the mantle, and it's not because someone hates you, it's because shit happens.
Right.
Versus, I'm mad at you, and this is important prized possession of yours because it was your grandma's clock. I'm going to pick it up off the mantle, toss it across the room. That's two different situations. You have to pay very close attention to what it is.
Right. But both of those, it's best to have a backup plan, a secure plan, and be out of there.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm afraid this one might not be giving enough information, because she does go on to say that, at the very end that there's more to the story. So I don't know what she's...
It's one of those first love situations.
Oh, that's why she doesn't know how to end it, is she basically got in her first relationship. They ended up moving in together. Oh, gosh, honey. You need a best friend. That's what you need more than anything right now. You need a best friend to come stay with you.
Right.
Until this is over and he's moved out.
Or moved out. Either way.
Yeah.
Secure your shit, secure your place, and then move.
Yes. Yep. There we go.
All right, let's hop over and check out the poll.
Am I the asshole? I'm expecting this one could be a mixed bag, because I could, part of me can go either way, but I'm getting real strict on the, what did they ask, am I the asshole about?
Right. Not the asshole.
Okay.
Yeah. So not the asshole.
I'm starting to wonder if we need to gradiate the polls a little.
Well, there's one that's everyone's a shithead, so I think I may add
everyone's shitty here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I think we may
add that one, and then I think we could also do like not the asshole, but strictly because of how you phrased it. Like, you're the asshole, but you didn't ask the right question.
Exactly. But again, you should hold
because I have this.
And that's what we're seeing with both things here. The relationship advice. Sorry, you check my dog, you're out this house. I don't care who but the wall says. You will find another place to live in very quickly.
Yeah. Well, but I also think there are sometimes moments where people do things in a tense situation.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry, I was not kind the night that Gizmo got his paw stuck in a grate and then nipped at me.
Right.
Like, not that I kicked the dog or anything, but I smacked him pretty hard to get him off of me.
Right.
Like, hi, get the hell away from me. Like, no. I understand Puppy's hurting, and Puppy, did what he did because he was in pain.
Right.
But I also felt bad because I hit him pretty hard to make sure, like to back him off.
Right.
Because it was like, okay, if that's how we're going to be tonight, then, like, I'm trying to help you, dude.
Right.
So again, sometimes I don't know, because that one sounds borderline.
Well, again, no.
Yeah. Generally speaking, like, if random out of the blue, you're,
right.
like, they get mad at you and then go in and choke your dog, then yeah, that's totally uncalled for.
Right. And it's like, no. No. Out the door. Out the door.
Yeah, Brenda's with touch my dog and you're dead to me. But now, Brenda, here's the thing. If you had two dogs and one was attacking the other,
Mm-hmm.
and perhaps in a misguided attempt to stop the situation,
Mm-hmm.
someone grabbed one of the dogs
Right.
and choked it,
Right.
trying to like get it to let go.
Right.
Where would you be with that?
Right.
That's that's where I'm processing this one at is like if we were talking any random Tuesday, walk into the living room and out of clear blue thin air, grab the dog and choke it. No, that's wrong. That's totally fucked up. That's a warning.
Right.
No, it never happened.
Right.
But in this situation, I'm going,
Right.
was it misguided or a bad idea? Definitely.
Right.
But was it just a poor reaction to a tense situation?
Right.
So that's why I'm throwing that one back at you a little bit and going, okay, but if the situation where dog A is attacking dog B, you grab dog A.
Well, and we've had that issue, and both of them get their heads knocked around.
Well,
but you don't choke them out.
Shouldn't.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Brenda says that is an accident. The way she stated it does not sound like that. So I do want to go back and highlight that one.
Right.
There was one time when he choked one of our dogs because they won't stop fighting with one another.
Right.
I envisioned that one in my head like the two dogs are going at each other.
Right.
And he tries to intervene, chokes the dog.
Mm-hmm.
Poor choice, horrible choice. Don't do that.
Right.
But if you don't know better or you're just an idiot,
right,
you might have thought that would stop it or fix it or do something, in a positive direction.
Right.
I see that one as like, that could go either way. Either someone's an idiot and doesn't know what the hell they're doing and probably shouldn't be left alone to take care of dogs that don't like each other.
Mm-hmm.
Or, potentially you got someone who's highly abusive and then they're showing violence towards animals as a first stage.
Right.
I could throw that one either direction.
No, not putting up with it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have put up with it.
Right.
All right, guys. Well, we've wrapped that up. We'll be back with Thursday night with Coffee and Tea with AC and Gwen. And let me see what else is going on this week. I have set up the gallery readings. Baristas, you will be getting your link to your gallery reading. We will be updating your benefits because there are some changes in the benefit structures that are for the better. We just don't currently advertise them. Mm-hmm. But we will be doing that. And we want to thank our baristas, not only for being our key people, but also helping us manage this thing we call a network. So take that over, Joe.
All right. So, of course, we want to thank Beverly Walker, Mika G, Kathy, Mary Winfield, Brenda, Shannon C, Shannon D, Lady Gwendolyn, Charles Shaw, Dottie the Psychic, Tracy Van, Caitlin Bell, and Devin. If you'd like to learn more about us, the show, or how you too can become one of our Patreon sponsors and receive all the wonderful benefits our baristas receive, please visit us at pcsbnetwork.com.
Yes, and I agree, Brenda. I very much agree.
Oh, wait. Joe, you little teddy bear, you have such a soft heart and try to see the best in people. I have jaded glasses. No, I understand that. I always do get charged with being a devil's advocate.
He does.
Is like, I'll sit here and try to see the middle ground of like, she's upset, hates her boyfriend, wants his ass out, thinks the relationship's over, and is trying to write his like laundry list of horrible things he's done.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of okay. Let me sit in the middle and go, is there a reasonable version of any of these things?
Right.
Could it be something else and not he's a monster?
Right.
Some people, they're the monster. Like, if you go into the living room, you pick up someone's dog and you choke them for no reason, you're a monster. Like, we can all agree on that.
Right.
But in a case where two dogs are fighting, I can see a possible, like, well, not quite exactly how she described it. She's mad. She's cherry picking events.
Right.
And and I could see that from either direction. He could probably come up with a list on her as
Right.
well, because she even goes on in the beginning and says, we are so toxic to one another and I don't know how to fix it.
Right.
So there's obviously the ability
Right.
for him to come back and be like, well, let me tell you what this has done to me.
Mm-hmm.
And, to the dog and to the cat and to, my tigers and everything else.
Right. And it's like, out the door.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, guys. You have a great evening, and we will see you later. Bye, guys.
Bye.
The deck is stacked. You can whisper behind my back. You can show me how the odds are up against me all day long. But I've been through the fire and come out alive, and there's no more fear in my eyes. Oh, now I'm rising, and you can't bring me down. You can't stop me now.